Hey there guys, welcome back to the Homesteadonomics channel that you've come to know and love over the years for my very consistent upload schedule and my wide variety of projects painted various brightly colored shades of gray. Maybe the first part isn't accurate, but definitely the second part. Anyway, in today's video, I'm going to show you kind of a grab bag of a variety of projects I've been working on over the past month. With the first one probably being the First Flush system that I just installed on my shipping container shop. As many of you know, I collect rainwater as our primary source of water here in the Arizona desert. And I've had a system on this shop before, but when I redid the awning, I kind of had it kind of out of service for a while, and I just finally got to reinstalling it. So I'm going to give you a little tour of that. It's a little bit different than the other First Flushes I've done. And then I'm going to show you a variety of other water related, rainwater related, and electric projects and a few other things that I've been working on as just a, I don't know, a little smorgasbord of random stuff. So right now we'll go to that. I'll give you a little tour of it. I'll show it in use, and then we'll get on to one of the other ones. Alright, so just a real quick note before I give you a run through of this system and show it in action, and that is that you're going to notice I'm using 2-inch PVC pipe for all of the transfer and downspout pipe. And if you're familiar with any of my other rainwater harvesting projects like my house and the horse barn and the shipping container playhouse and various others, is that I heavily advocate for using 3-inch pipe because it accommodates much higher volumes of water. But because this is a shop and it's kind of like my little experiment and I try stuff, and because when I rebuilt this awning I included that piece of steel that comes out, the 3-inch just wasn't going to fit, and I had the 2-inch on hand, so that's why I'm using 2-inch pipe. So now I will show how everything flows through the system, give you a little closer look at the First Flush, and then show it in action. Starting with the awning side, the PVC connects directly into the end cap of the gutter where I have a screened inlet to prevent large debris from getting into the piping. And from there, the water runs through the piping through a couple of elbows around this corner and ultimately through a T-joint right above the First Flush chamber where it then drops into. And on the back side of the shop, it also collects off of the end of the gutter through a little homemade PVC fitting I made with a 4-inch end cap, a 2-inch elbow, and a piece of wire mesh to prevent large debris from getting in the system. And from there, it travels through the pipe, also through that same T-joint, and then drops into the First Flush chamber. And this First Flush chamber is comprised of a 2-inch to 4-inch adapter, and I also used an adapter from regular PVC to PVC thin wall, which is what I made the chamber out of. It's 4-inch thin wall PVC. And down at the bottom, I have a threaded end cap that allows me to clean the system out. And the way this First Flush works is that there is a little plastic ball that rests at the bottom of the First Flush chamber, and as the dirty water fills up in this chamber, all the silt and dust, that ball starts to float up until it gets caught in that little necked joint, and that kind of seals off the dirty water, and then the rest of the water coming through the gutters and the PVC piping hits that little stopped up ball and then just proceeds through this U-joint and ultimately into the culvert cistern right there. And I think I'll show you a little clip of the ball, and then I'll show it all in action. Now, in addition to that upgrade to the shop rainwater harvesting system, the other project that has consumed the bulk of my time for the past month or so has been in running power and water to this goat barn. You may remember this was originally my rain roof project on that side of my property, and I used an electrical cable spool to roll it in one piece to this location. It's about 22 feet long, 12 foot wide, and I just placed it up in that position, built walls around it, and it has since served as kind of our supplies and feed storage for the goats. And last winter it became kind of a nursery area for the goats. And my wife, since we have, I think, 3 mamas pregnant now, and we're about a month to 3 months out from having a series of births, she asked if I would run one additional hose bib to this barn to where, you know, just aid in having a place to wash hands and stuff like that. And so I made a little wash station inside the barn there, which I'll show you. It's right next to the little nursery area. And while I was doing that, I had an open trench, and I said, well, maybe I might as well run power. So I tapped off of one of my exterior outlets, upgraded a breaker, and just added one control switch, a 30 amp switch that controls all of the lights in this barn. And I'll show you later lights to a future project that is over in that area. And that's pretty much it. It's not finished yet because eventually I'm going to have lights on the exterior of this barn, as well as run power from this one over to this barn, just so we can have some more options when we are tending to the goats at night, especially with all of these babies that we are having. And anyway, so let me show you the wash station. I'll show you the area I tapped off on my exterior outlets, and then I'll show you some of the hose bibs, and we'll get on to whatever else next. So we're in the barn now, and you may remember this was the little insulated birthing area I built last year just in case one of the mamas had babies when we were having a hard freeze. And if they were still wet from the birthing process, we could just put the mama and the babies in here for a little additional insulation until they got their legs underneath them. And I've since realized this is definitely overkill. But here is the wash station I set up. Very simple, just built a shelf and then ran one of my water lines up here, put a faucet on there, and then I used an old watering trough, added a standard little drain plug, and then that ends up running to some trees over by the horse stall area. And then for the power, you'll see I have 3 lines coming up here. One is the inlet that comes from the house, and I'll show you the labels right now. One goes back out to the horse stall area where we will eventually put some light poles and maybe run something else out there. And then one goes to a little arena area so I can eventually in the future put some lights, and I'll show you that next. But for here, I just ran the power coming up through here, gave myself an outlet in case we want to run some additional stuff out here, like maybe a heater when my wife and daughter are out here with the babies. And then I just did a switched outlet right here, and this switch controls this outlet, and I just used some standard extension cords, because these lights are just your plug-in style, so it's not hardwired lights, but basically all of those low draw LED lights just run out of this outlet. And just on the other side of the wall from the wash station, I have an additional hose bib that we're using to fill up the girls' water, the bucks' water, and potentially any future horse watering needs in the horse stall area from Marley's Mustang Tip Challenge she did a couple years ago. And then on the other side of the goat yard, I also have another hose bib. That's the side closest to the chicken coop. And at that location, I have a ground box with a quarter turn valve that I can use to shut off all of these lines in case I want to make any future additions. And with the mention of horses, I'll take you to the next portion of this greater project, to something we are working towards. And there's a certain little girl on this property who is really hoping it comes to fruition. Well, you just saw me walk by a random little stub out of power and water, and you may be wondering what that's for, since obviously there's no structure attached to it. But if you listen to my comments a little bit earlier, you might have figured out that I was alluding to potential future horses, and that is exactly what that's for. That will be for watering horses in this future little round pen area that we cleared out and added some of the extra fencing panels we had from Marley's tip challenge. My father-in-law helped me flatten this out, and my neighbor Al let me borrow his tractor to kind of drag it and smooth it all out. And it's not quite level, it's probably about 95%, but we'll work on it. And potentially this is going to be getting a little bit bigger. I like to call it for the goal of a mini arena. And the power element for that is so that I can mount some or set some poles so we can have some lights, so that in the event that we do get horses in the future, that we can have the ability to have lighted area for the nighttime, because obviously in the summer it's a lot more comfortable doing stuff at night or in the evening than in the middle of the hot day. And if you remember from Marley's tip challenge that she did a couple of years ago, she had a BLM Mustang through the Mustang Heritage Foundation and BLM project, where she trained it, but it was a yearling. And we kind of told her, we said, look, you can keep this Mustang, and we're going to feed it for the next 2.5 years until it is at an age where it can be safely start to be ridden, or we can rehome it with some people that were interested in her Mustang, where they have other horses, and then we can save up and potentially build facilities slowly while we have the funds to do so, in hopes that we can be in a better situation to have better facilities for horses in the future. And that's what this is. We're working our way there. We're not quite there. We're not, unfortunately, we're not made of money, and horses are expensive animals. And so anyway, we're kind of just very casually shopping, looking for the right combo, because we don't want to have a single horse again. And the other potential is maybe Marley will do another Mustang tip challenge, but we'll have maybe some donkeys or burros or something, so that can have a companion animal. And this will eventually be kind of the more training area. Like I said, I would like to get it a little bit bigger, but at least in the meantime we have something in case we find one. And this will eventually be connected with a little runway right through here to the horse stall area that has gotten a little bit bigger since the last time you saw it. Anyway, so that's what that is all for, and that's why there are utilities right in this location. And for those of you who wish I'd post a little bit more content on the Sunken Greenhouse, I don't know if I showed this before, but I have been working on a movable shade. Right now this structure is just kind of permanent. It's just attached to those two anchored points on the ground there. But I have, I think, all the materials I need, and I'm going to be anchoring another post over here and another one over there, so that this whole thing can slide back and forth, so that I can extend that transition time in the fall and springtime. And anyway, I'm not going to show you anything inside the greenhouse because we just planted it out. It doesn't look super impressive, but hopefully around January, maybe late January, early February, this thing will be sliding, and obviously it won't be over it because I don't need any additional shade during that time. But just know that there is something coming. And I also did add an additional hose bib in the stairwell of this sunken greenhouse, and I'll show that right now. Now I'm back at the shop, and keeping on the theme of power and water, when I was doing all the work on the goat barn and all the horse facilities, I was thinking about some projects that have kind of been in the back of my mind for a while. And you might have noticed in the past when I have worked out here at night, sometimes I'll set up some of my like portable Ryobi shop lights, which do a great job. But I had always really wanted to put some good lights underneath this awning since I work out here so often. And I started thinking about, I used to have a little kind of like a barn light right by the door there of the shop, and I took that out, and instead what I did is I wired a box, a distribution box, and then I ran power to some outlets here and on the other side, and then I strung up some LED shop lights that I got from Tractor Supply. They were on clearance for $15.99 for a set of 2. And I put them under here. I'll show you some clips of how bright those are, and I think it's really going to make for a nice shop space. And I also purchased some extras because eventually I am going to build a little metal shop on the back side of this shop. Anyway, so if you're going to Tractor Supply, look for those a deal on shop lights. I think it's just like a seasonal thing. And that little barn light that I had there, I decided to move that over to my pump house, and you'll see it is right there. And the reason I put it there is because I plan on pouring a little concrete utility sink so that I can do like some general washing instead of traipsing back inside the house all the time when I need to wash my hands and, you know, clean something off. I can do it out there. So that'll be a future project and keep with the theme of power and water. It'll be simple. My pump house is right there, and I'll just run an additional line, and it'll go into, I don't know, I'm thinking a formed concrete sink is what I'm planning on doing. So now I'll just show you all these clips of these, the shop lights underneath the awning and that little porch light off the pump house. Alright guys, well I think that pretty much covers the big projects that I wanted to touch on in this video. Hopefully you found them at least mildly interesting. I obviously do, otherwise I wouldn't be working on them, but if nothing more, it also gives you a little bit of a glimpse into what I've been doing for the past 6 weeks or so, because I know my videos have lagged a little bit, but rest assured I am always working on things. And truth be told, the last 2 months have been incredibly busy. I've been working on lots of other projects too, but a lot of those, like reorganizing the garage and things like that, I just didn't think were interesting enough to put on video. But I have gotten a lot accomplished, and some of the things that I was working on, like tinkering on my truck camper, I'm still plugging away to getting to the next part of that series. I've just sometimes I like to tinker and think about things for a while before I, you know, put it to full application. But anyway, some of the other things we've been doing is my daughter had her first youth elk hunt, which she was successful on. My wife had a deer hunt. My dad's had a deer hunt, and just a whole bunch of other things, little odds and ends. And some of the things I've talked about that will be on camera in the future is I'll show you some clips of these little stands I built that are going to become part of like an IBC tote goat play structure. I think I might have showed it or talked about it beforehand, but at least they're one step closer to actually being something, and that will also hopefully tie into when we have our baby goats, because then I'll be able to get some clips of the little babies on the really cool structure that I think is very cool, but my wife isn't necessarily sold on the idea of IBC totes. But anyway, I also did some other little things, like I did a tool cabinet restoration of my wife's Papa Carroll. He passed away quite a few years ago. And he had a little tool cabinet, a little Craftsman, like mechanics tool cabinet. It was all rusted and dinged up, and it was pretty much ready for the dump. But I, took all the rust off, worked all the drawer glides, built a new drawer for it, repainted it, and you'll probably be seeing that in future videos. And then I've got some other little random projects, like I acquired a radio tower that's like a 57-foot radio tower that I have no idea what I'm going to do with, but the opportunity was there, and I thought the price was interesting, and I figured if nothing more, I could use it for some little interesting project. Let's see. What else? Oh, yes. The other thing I wanted to touch on is that some of you may remember I used to write for Backwoods Home Magazine occasionally. I would, have an article in there, and I would sometimes do a little video of an upcoming article. Well, I have talked to them, and I've started writing for them again, as well as I'm thinking I'm going to be writing also for Self-Reliance magazine, which is also like a sister publication. So I think in January, one of my first articles is going to publish, which I'll probably do a video then to let you know that it's out. But anyway, that's another thing I've been working on. And one more thing I almost forgot to cover. You might have noticed my new hat. Well, my friend Danny, who is a man of many talents, he does pretty much everything I do, but when it comes to like CAD and things like that, he's definitely a little more, got some more technical savvy than I do. And he laser etched my logo with my tagline, "Turn off the news, learn a skill, become more capable, live free," onto these little leather patches. And he made a bunch of hats for me. I was planning on giving them out as gifts to like some of my family and friends. But I was also thinking about maybe selling a few just to cover the costs of the hat. But as for right now, just with this video and with Christmas coming up, as a thank you to you guys for following the channel, watching my videos, I wanted to pick one or two of you in the comments after maybe the first 2 or 3 days, and I'll just do a random number generator and respond to you in the comments. And if you live in the US, which is my only limitation on shipping, because once it goes outside the US, it becomes very expensive, I would like to send you one for free, and then maybe I'll pick a few of you to just send stickers to or something like that. But anyway, I'll show a couple clips of the hats right now. Most of them are this style, which I like, which is the unstructured. It kind of fits your head, but I do realize a lot of people like the kind of higher brim, or I guess it's that classic trucker hat with, a little bit straighter up front. I did get one of those, just mostly as a giveaway. I don't personally like the way those fit, but if you were the winner and you want the trucker that I had made, that one with the more structured brim, just let me know. And obviously whoever's there, I'll ask you what color you want. But I just got a bunch made just to kind of see what I liked, but I'll probably end up sticking with this camo style, the gray, and like the neutral tannish one, because I think those are kind of, obviously I have to have the gray. So anyway, with that said, I appreciate you guys watching. Give me a thumbs up if you like this. Hit the subscribe button for more content, and until I see you again, Merry Christmas and God bless.